At 6:42 a.m. on April 7, 1945, 23-year-old aviation machinist's mate second-class Danny Kowalski watches 50 Japanese Zero fighters appear through the morning haze over Okinawa, knowing his P-61 Black Widow night fighter carries exactly 12 rounds of ammunition, and the invasion fleet below holds 1,000 men who will die if those Zeros break through. The fog tastes like salt and aviation fuel. His hands won't stop shaking. The radio crackles. All fighters return to base. Repeat RTB immediately. Danny looks at his fuel gauge, looks at the Zeros, looks at the ships below, and makes a decision that will get him killed, but save everyone else. Danny Kowalski grows up in Hamtramck, Michigan, Polish town, auto worker families, everyone broke or nearly broke. His father works the Dodge main assembly line, 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week, comes home smelling like metal shavings and motor oil, hands permanently stained black. His mother takes in sewing. Danny's the youngest of 4, sleeps on a folding cot in the kitchen. He's 17 when Pearl Harbor happens, 18 when he enlists. Navy, aviation mechanics, because he understands engines the way some people understand music, not from manuals, but from listening, from feeling the vibration through metal, from knowing when something's wrong before the gauge says so. Boot camp, San Diego, then aviation school at Jacksonville. He's good with his hands, fast learner, quiet kid who doesn't drink, doesn't cause trouble, writes letters home every Sunday. His drill instructor writes in his file, solid technician, follows orders, not leadership material. By March 1945, Danny's stationed on Okinawa with Marine Night Fighter Squadron 543. He maintains P-61 Black Widows, twin-engine beasts designed to hunt Japanese bombers in the dark. He's not a pilot. He's the guy who keeps the planes flying. But on April 7th, everything changes. The kamikaze attack begins at dawn. Operation Kikusui, Floating Chrysanthemum, sends 355 Japanese aircraft towards the American invasion fleet anchored off Okinawa. Kamikazes, escorts, fighters, everything Japan has left. Marine Fighter Squadron 543 scrambles every plane, 16 P-61s go up, 30 minutes later 15 come back. Bullet holes, hydraulic failures, empty ammunition. Only one plane still airborne, Black Widow 13, piloted by James Walsh, 28, Boston. 3 confirmed kills, except Walsh is dead. 20mm cannon fire through the cockpit at 6:38 a.m., killed instantly. The plane's flying on autopilot, circling at 8,000 feet, and nobody knows. Danny's on the flight line when he hears it on the radio. Ground control trying to raise Walsh. Black Widow 13, respond. Walsh, do you copy? Nothing. Black Widow 13, you are ordered to return to base. Static. Danny looks up, sees the P-61 circling, sees something else, a formation of Zeros, maybe 50 strong, headed straight for the fleet. The combat air patrol's already landed. The fleet's anti-aircraft guns are low on ammunition. If those Zeros reach the transports, thousands die. The deck chief, Gunnery Sergeant Ramon Martinez, San Antonio, 34, missing 2 fingers from a pre-war accident, sees Danny staring. Forget it, Kowalski. Plane's gonna crash when it runs out of fuel. How long? Maybe 20 minutes. Why? Danny doesn't answer. He's already running toward the radio shack. Here's what Danny knows that nobody else does. P-61 Black Widows have a remote gun turret, 4.50 caliber machine guns mounted on top, controlled from the gunner's position, usually operated by a crew member. But there's an override switch in the aft compartment. Flip it, and you can aim the guns manually using a backup sight. Danny helped install that system. He also knows Black Widow 13 still has a full ammunition load in that turret because Walsh's gunner reported a jam before takeoff. The forward guns are empty, but the turret, 400 rounds, is untouched. He finds Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Stone, Squadron Commander 41, Annapolis graduate, already planning tomorrow's funerals. Sir, I can fly that plane. Stone looks at him like he's lost his mind. You're not a pilot, Kowalski. No, sir, but I can parachute into it. The room goes silent. What the hell are you talking about? Danny explains. Jump from a C-47 transport, land on the P-61's wing. It's flying straight and level on autopilot. Climb inside through the top hatch, reach the gun turret, use the manual override, engage the Zeros. Stone stares at him. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Yes, sir. You'll die. Probably, sir, but those Zeros will kill everyone on those transports if somebody doesn't stop them. Martinez speaks up. Kid's right about the guns, and he knows that plane better than anyone. Stone looks at Danny, looks at the radar showing 50 Zeros incoming, looks at the fleet below, 37 transports, 18 destroyers, 12,000 men. Get him a parachute. 6:47 a.m. Danny's in a C-47 at 9,000 feet, 1,000 feet above the circling P-61. He's wearing a parachute, a leather flight jacket, and a service pistol he has no idea how to use. The jumpmaster, Corporal Eddie Washington, Chicago 20, former Golden Gloves boxer, checks his chute. You're either the bravest son of a bitch I've ever met or the dumbest. Both. Probably. Danny's hands shake. His mouth's dry. His heart hammers so hard he can feel it in his throat. What he's about to attempt has never been done. Not in training, not in combat, nowhere ever. The C-47's crew chief opens the door. Wind screams inside. Danny sees the P-61 below, black silhouette against blue ocean, wings level, flying itself. He thinks about his father, about the assembly line, about metal and timing and precision. Then he jumps. The parachute deploys. Danny drops toward the P-61, watching it grow larger. The wind pushes him east. He pulls the risers, steering. Harder than it looks. The plane's moving at 180 miles per hour. He's descending at 15 feet per second. The math has to be perfect. Below, the zeros are 3 minutes from the fleet. Danny passes through 8,500 feet. The P-61's right below him now. He can see Walsh's body slumped in the cockpit, can see the bullet holes in the canopy. He pulls hard left, angling toward the fuselage. At 8,200 feet, his boots hit the P-61's wing. He doesn't stick the landing, slides sideways, grabbing for anything. His fingers catch the gun turret mounting. The parachute drags him backwards. He hits the quick release. The chute tears away, tumbling into the sky. Danny's lying on top of a P-61 Black Widow at 8,000 feet, winds screaming past at 180 miles per hour, 50 Japanese fighters 4 miles away. He crawls forward, reaches the top hatch. It's locked from inside. Of course it is. He pulls out his service pistol, has no idea if this will work, shoots the lock 3 times. The hatch pops open. He drops inside. The P-61's interior smells like oil, cordite, and blood. Danny doesn't look at Walsh, can't afford to. He climbs past the cockpit into the gunner's compartment. The turret control panel's right there, exactly where he remembers installing it 6 weeks ago. He flips the manual override switch. The motor's turret hum to life. He swings into the gunner's seat, grabs the backup sight, crude iron sights, no computing gun sight, just eye and instinct. Through the sight, he sees them, 50 zeros in loose formation, 6,000 feet below, 2 miles from the fleet. Danny's never fired a gun in combat, never shot at another human being, never killed anyone. His instructor's voice echoes, not leadership material. His hands steady. Something in him, something from the assembly line, from watching his father build engines, from understanding machines, takes over. He centers the sight on the lead zero, whispers, "Not today," and opens fire. 450 caliber machine guns firing in unison sound like God tearing metal. The first burst catches the lead zero's engine. The plane explodes, fuel tanks igniting, spinning into the ocean. Denny swings the turret, fires again. A second zero's wing shears off. Another burst, canopy shatters, pilot slumps. The Japanese formation scatters. But they don't run. They turn toward him. What Denny doesn't know is Japanese pilots think the P-61 is a drone, an unmanned decoy. They don't understand someone's actually inside, fighting alone. 10 zeros break formation, climbing toward him. Denny keeps firing. His world becomes sound and recoil and the smell of burning brass. A zero explodes 50 yards away. Another spins past, trailing smoke. He's not aiming anymore, just pointing, firing, trusting instinct. The gun turret clicks empty. 400 rounds gone in 12 seconds. 7 zeros destroyed. The remaining zeros realize he's out of ammunition. They close in, cannons flashing. 20mm rounds punch through the P-61's fuselage. Hydraulic lines rupture. The left engine catches fire. Danny's hit. Shrapnel in his shoulder, his leg. Blood soaks his flight jacket. The plane starts falling. But below the American fleet's guns open up. The scattered, disorganized zero formation flies into a wall of anti-aircraft fire. 16 more zeros go down. The rest turn back. The invasion fleet is saved. Danny Kowalski bleeds out in the gunner's seat at 6:51 a.m., 9 minutes after he jumped from the C-47. He's 23 years old. They find the P-61 floating 2 miles offshore, broken in half. Danny's body still in the turret, hands frozen on the guns.
They bury him April 9, 1945, in the 1st Marine Division Cemetery on Okinawa. Rain falls during the service. Soft Pacific rain that turns the red dirt to mud. 73 men attend. Martinez reads from Danny's last letter home, written 3 days earlier. "Mom, I'm not scared anymore. I think I finally understand what Dad meant about doing your job right. Not for glory, not for medals, but because the work matters, and the people next to you matter, and somebody has to do it. If that somebody's me, I'm okay with that." The Navy Cross arrives 6 weeks later. His mother receives it in Hamtramck. She puts it in a drawer and never looks at it again. The official action report mentions Aviation Mechanics Mate 2nd Class Kowalski's extraordinary heroism in engaging enemy aircraft from a damaged friendly aircraft. It's filed and forgotten. History remembers Okinawa for the kamikazes, for the battleship Yamato, for the 82-day campaign that killed 12,000 Americans. History doesn't remember Danny Kowalski, but the men on those transports do. 1,247 soldiers who would have died if those zeros broke through. Most never knew his name, but 37 wrote letters to his mother over the next 40 years. They told her what her son did, how he saved them, how they think about him every April 7th. Martinez kept Danny's dog tags, carried them through Korea, through Vietnam. When he died in 1987, they buried him with those tags in his pocket. I keep thinking about Danny Kowalski, about a mechanic from Hamtramck who everyone said wasn't leadership material, who jumped out of an airplane onto another airplane flying itself, who fought 50 Japanese fighters alone with 12 seconds of ammunition. Not because he was fearless, his hands were shaking when he jumped. Not because he was trained, he'd never fired a shot in combat. But because the work mattered, the people mattered, and somebody has to do it. History's full of moments that turned on ordinary people making impossible choices. Not generals, not heroes, just mechanics and farmhands and factory workers who saw what needed doing and did it. Danny Kowalski's name isn't in the history books, but it should be. So here's what I'm asking. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it, tell someone. Because these stories disappear if we don't keep them alive. Subscribe if you want more forgotten heroes, more impossible choices, more mechanics who change the world. And next time you're facing something that scares you, something that seems impossible, remember Danny Kowalski. Remember that kid from Hamtramck who jumped from an airplane onto another airplane to save 1,000 strangers. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is take the shot, even when your hands won't stop shaking. Thank you for watching. And remember the mechanics.